A lot of times on this channel, we talk about places where you might, as a buyer, be able to take advantage of a down market. We're definitely experiencing a buyer's market right now in May of 2025. And let's face it, we've been seeing a buyer's market for well over a year, into 2 years. A lot of people feel like the market switched as we entered into 2025. But if you watch this channel, you know, we've watched it. We know that it has been slowly walking down in 2024 to 2025. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk through not so much who is just tanking, who's doing horribly, because we already know the answer to this because we talk about it all the time on this channel. Let's talk about what is doing well, who is seeing a bit of a rebound. All right, so let me start with something that may surprise some of you. The cities that are seeing rebounding in terms of numbers, and when I'm saying rebounding, don't think about a bouncing ball that hit the ground and went way back up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like maybe a wiffle ball. You know what I mean? It kind of hit the ground and bounced up just a little bit. That's what I'm talking about. So the cities that are seeing a little bit of a bounce back are the ones that have the most master planned communities, master plan developments. Some people call them PUDs. So planned unit development. So think about things like Palmer Ranch, Lakewood Ranch, Babcock Ranch. These communities, there's tons of them in Naples. Communities, tons of them in Estero, by the way. Those have been very popular. Communities that give you that resort style living, no matter where you are. Ever since in the last couple of years, when we've seen a lot of flooding, a lot of hurricanes, even if they're lower level hurricanes, 1s or 2s, there's still a problem. You can still have a lot of damage from that. So since that kind of became a little bit more real to people, there's been a big push to move inland a little bit. That's why I think the communities in Estero that are up and down Corkscrew are doing so well, because yeah, they're 7, 8, 9, 10 miles inland off the coast, but they're close enough that if you live in Florida for any amount of time, if you live on the coast, you know that you're not going to the beach every single weekend. You're just not going to do it. You might go often during your first year, but after that, you know what you're going to do? You're going to hang out at your beautiful pool in your backyard with your gorgeous lanai and your summer kitchen. You're going to look at the lake or the beautiful preserve and all the wildlife. You're going to barbecue. You're going to have a TV up on your lanai. You're going to have a little bit of a breeze. You're going to hear the palm trees kind of swaying. That's how you're going to live life. You're not going to be schlepping it to the beach constantly. There are some people that will do that, but most people do that for about a year and then they stop doing it. So there's been a big push for those communities that give you everything, that give you a restaurant in your community, pickleball, beautiful fitness centers, gorgeous resort style pool, lots of things to do. People absolutely love that resort style living, and they're willing to drive a little bit farther to get to the beach in order to have that. Also, you get better pricing when you're out inland a little bit. So those type of communities have been doing really, really well. And then second to that is going to be your luxury market, especially on water. So by that, I mean way up into the 7 figures, maybe even touching 8 figures. Those are folks that aren't so much as affected by the ups and downs of the normal people market, because they're just on a different level. You know, they can do what they want. But that market has kind of stayed pretty strong in a lot of areas, because it's just, we're talking about apples and grapefruits. We're not even close. So that market has definitely stayed pretty strong. But as you step down from that market, you can't avoid talking about coastal properties. And this is a question I get constantly. Well, what about Cape Coral? You always say Cape Coral isn't doing well. And it isn't. Can I just be honest? But I say this all the time when I do videos about Cape Coral, and I make people mad. But here's the thing. If you target Cape Coral and you have just regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a pool backing to another house or backing to a skinny canal, like less than 30 feet wide, if that's what you're targeting, they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. Throw whatever offer you want. But if you're looking for big open water, like out to the Caloosahatchee and out to the Gulf in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, water direct, not indirect, no bridges, if that's what you want, you need to know that that is what most people will start asking for. They'll start at that and then they kind of walk back from it if the pricing is out of their range. You can buy that, by the way, from anywhere from $700,000 to on up. Let's just say, I don't know, a couple $1,000,000. You don't get really, really high in Cape Coral, but a couple $1,000,000. So 700 to 2 million, you're going to find a lot of those. And then it really just comes down to what you like, what area you like. Do you want to be in the area that is established, the Southeast Cape? Do you want to be out at the Northwest Cape? It's different. But that said, when you have quick access out to the water, you're not going to see those big, big bargains because there's only so much of that type of water. So those are the three scenarios that are holding strong and stable, and even starting to see just the teeniest, tiniest bit of a walk up in terms of pricing. So I promised you I'm going to give you details. So where are we seeing that the most? I'm going to just scroll my notes here. Palm Beach, number one. Palm Beach has seen home sales go up by 63.2%, finishing first quarter of 2025. So that's really good. But again, I'm going to tell you, it is the planned unit development communities or it is big time luxury market. In between is still having problems. Next one, and you're going to be surprised because this was also on my bad list, Orlando. Home sales increased by 62.4 first quarter of 2025, but only in the planned unit developments. Everything else around it in Orlando, resale, those type of things are still seeing a massive decline in value and tons of inventory coming on the market. But the newer planned unit developments, master plan developments where you have that resort style living within your community, they're doing pretty good. Median sale price is recording at $389.9 in April, so affordable too. Next one is St. Johns County. So that's going to be in Northeast Florida. That trends a little bit more full-time living. You have less snowbirds in that area, but there's a lot of master plan developments that have come up in that area that are doing really, really well. It trends a lot younger than some of these areas we're talking about, minus Orlando. Orlando does trend, you know, there's a lot of diversity in terms of age in Orlando, but when you're talking about Southwest Florida, it does trend a little bit older. But in Northeast Florida, especially St. Johns County, they're doing pretty good there. There's a lot of communities that are stabilizing. So we're talking about St. Johns County. Don't confuse that with Duval County. They are seeing a rapid decline. That continues to be a buyer's market, but St. Johns County has done a good job of hanging on. It's just an area that people choose a lot. It's very family friendly. It's very full-time living friendly. So they're doing really well. Numbers are looking alike. So they even had a raise in their median sale price, single family home, to the raise was a little under 2%, but it's still an increase. $557,990 is what their median is. So that's good for them. And then lastly, and some of you may be surprised by this because there's a lot of homes on the market, but Sarasota County is doing pretty well. So let me give you some interesting data here that people like to argue with me about. Cash buyers accounted for 46% of all transactions in the first quarter of 2025. So when I say to you, like I do consultations all week long, when I say to you, try to create a cash scenario, it's so you can compete. Now, do I mean that you should have a pile of cash laying around in a corner in your house? No. But what I mean is you should show up with cash, meaning maybe you do a HELOC on your home in Massachusetts, HELOC, home equity line of credit. So what you're essentially utilizing when you come to Florida is cash. So something like that. You can pull money from stocks that you have, you can pull money from an IRA, you can pull money from a 401k, if any of those things work for you. But if you can show up with some form of cash, even a loan that doesn't have a financing contingency can work. Now you might say, what are you talking about? All loans have a financing contingency. Well, I know of many, many business owners that I have worked with that almost have like a guaranteed portfolio product because they own businesses up north somewhere. So when they come to buy in Florida, they are essentially cash buyers because they don't have to write contingent on financing. So that's very, very helpful. 46% in Sarasota County. So Sarasota County has had enough sales growth. Let's see, 0.7%. So they're barely rounding up to get out of the red just by a hair, but they're able to do it. They have enough stabilization going on in the county to just kind of push them over. And like I said, I talk about this a lot. You want to keep your eye on the ball. You want to know who's seeing the rapid decline, and you want to see who is seeing those gradual steps up, because that's what we look for. That's going to be your indicator of who is going to recover before everybody else.